Oh, what's going on, Game Weepers? Are we ready for the best 20 champions in the new 11-10 patch? Well, the Jizz is back, and I can't wait to get stuck into this because there are some red hot picks in this countdown, guys. And if you want an idea on who to play for the rest of the current patch so you can then hit the ground running on that particular champion in a week's time, do not go anywhere. Now, while you're telling me in the comments which champion you think is going to be the most broken in 11-10, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any of our daily uploads. And you know what? Hit that bell as well. And as you're doing that, head on over to the GameLeap website, guys. You can join thousands of your fellow summoners by signing up. That's right, thousands. And this will give you exclusive access to our Red Hot Challenger tier content that will help you peak and perform on the Rift in Season 11. Links, as always, in the description and comment section. Now, coming in at number 20, guys, is a champion who I don't think has been on really any of our champion lists so far, and maybe that's a good thing because Xin Zhao is coming in, starting off the countdown. So Xin Zhao, guys, this season has been changed a lot, so most players, I think, are still building him AOP, but what's actually really strong at the moment, and this is why he has a top 3 win rate in Master and above, a top 3 win rate, that's right, is because of Halo Blades, so that keystone, which gives you a very powerful early game. You also make sure W now in its new range, which allows you to jump to champions you hit from a region away. It's stupidly OP, right? So if you go to a lane and you W an enemy champion, you can E them from Narnia. And then on top of that, guys, you also have Eclipse, which is your mythic, which works so well with Xin Zhao in terms of the lifesteal, the damage, the lethality, the shield, everything works so well. Then you finish it off with Steris Gauge and a Guardian's Angel. And this 3-item combo makes you stupidly OP and very hard to duel. So to those of you out there who are still going AP, like unless you've got a full AD team, you are trolling if you're going AP, not in the sense that it's bad because it's probably still alright. It's just the fact that AD Eclipse Xin Zhao with Halo Blades is so good right now. Now, beating Xin Zhao to the number 19 spot, guys, is a top laner who has been one of the best champions this patch, and this is Nasus, who is still top dog. You get it because he's a dog. So yeah, this patch with Darius nerfed, sorry, that was really bad. Gore Drinker nerfed as well. Lee Sin is weaker, Riven is weaker, and Aatrox is weaker because of the Drinker nerf. Riftmaker is also nerfed, and Mordekaiser and Singed because they prefer, you know, the extended fights, and Riftmaker is losing a bit of damage, you know, in extended fights. So for Nasus, it's actually a lot less scary, and you're going to be able to scale and, you know, get out of that early game free of charge. Divine Sunder as well, your mythic spike, the hybrid damage with your own hybrid damage is a very strong mythic spike, if not the strongest in the game, you could well argue, and other items that you build are in a good spot. So if you think of Frozen Heart, there's been multiple Season 11 buffs, Gargoyle Stoneplate has been buffed, Water Nature has been buffed, and the Abyssal Mask buff this patch might actually tempt you into withering your opponents because you'll be caning them for more damage now, as well as your trash teammates. Now coming in at number 18, guys, we've got another fixture on the top 20 champions videos, and specifically in the top lane, Nocturne is still a beast. Now yes, you can make him work in the jungle and in the mid lane, but in the top lane, guys, Nocturne is just having more success at the moment. That's how it goes. Next patch as well, as I just said with Nasus, with Gore Drinker nerfed, Darius nerfed, Riftmaker nerfed, so Mordekaiser, even if you see Akali in the top lane Singed as well, your matchups are just generally easier. And what's perhaps most important is that your power is all still there. So those buffs that came earlier in the season that reduced your Q's cooldown and your ultimate's cooldown, and then think about the Stridebreaker combo as well, which gives you, you know, all the stickiness you need, it gives you the damage, so you can still kill pretty much any enemy squishy, and you have the tankiness, the sustain, and the bruiser in your kit to go toe-to-toe with the strong bruisers in top lane at the moment. Now, it might be a little harder to nuke enemy AD carries, though, with the new Irelias, because spellcasting supports and Ivern you can throw in there as well. They're going to be giving them movement speed instead of cooldowns, so they might be able to get away in some situations and actually peel themselves, which will be kind of annoying, but still, 11-10 is looking like a really good patch for Nocturne again. Now, this next champion, guys, got jungle buffs recently, and most players are still playing it in the jungle, but I want you to stop, okay? You're committing a cardinal sin, because Diana, guys, is much better in the mid lane right now. And if you cast your mind back to last patch, so in 11-9, where Diana got nerfed in terms of her armor per level, in terms of her HP regen, and then, of course, you had your passive attack speed, well, that passive attack speed really impacted your jungle performance. But in the mid lane, your power is still pretty strong. Yes, it still impacts mid lane, but nowhere near as much, right? Because attack speed isn't like a staple stat. So you're still holding on to all of that damage, all of that burst damage. So when you get Night Harvester or even Hextech Rocket Belt, which is improved with the new Magic Pen stat, and then a Void Star, for instance, or Zhonya's Hourglass or Lich Bane straight after, you spike a lot harder than when you go Nash's first, so that's the jungle Diana. And this mid lane burst version of Diana, guys, is carving up the competition at the moment. So yes, attack speed is good on Diana, don't get me wrong, because you're passive and Conqueror Keystone, but damage is where it's at. Now, ahead of Diana, guys, we have the number 1 AD carry coming in at number 16. Sounds kind of depressing saying that, doesn't it? The best AD carry is only 16th, but it's true. The role really isn't that great unless you're playing in a coordinated environment or maybe in like, you know, 1000 LP Korean IELO. But yeah, the number 1 AD carry, guys, is Jinx for another patch. And yes, she might be nerfed this patch, and we'll get into those details very soon, but the Season 11 buffs that made blue hair OP, well, these aren't going anywhere, which is what a lot of Jinx mains were worried about heading into this patch. Yes, your base armor is down, so you're more squishy and killable in the early lane, but your offensive power is still there. Your rockets range, your harass, your poke, and pair this with a Lulu, and it's curtains. And I should also point out that you won't be stealing as many dragons and barons because your ultimate's damage is now capped against these two bad boys, but if you're in gold and anything below gold, this probably doesn't change anything, so keep on stealing them. Now, this next champion, guys, I don't think I really need to go into that much detail because I I think I've talked about them in every Champions video, and this is Ergot. And hopefully it's common knowledge by now that Ergot is still really good because of how he works with Titanic Hydra and its on-hit in its passive, which gets transferred into your W, and you now max your purge as a result. You also have Stridebreaker, which gives you pretty much every stat you want. You know, it's got attack damage, attack speed, health, it's got ability haste as well, but more importantly, it gives you the stickiness, so kind of like Nocturne. It's very hard to kite you these days, which was Ergot's biggest weakness. Now, some of you might be really surprised to hear this next champion on this list, guys, because of the massive nerf Katarina copped this patch. 5 movement speed. She is the Season 11 Irelia. She actually got that treatment. Now, don't get me wrong, movement speed on an assassin like Katarina is somewhat meaningful, but it's just 5. So yes, laning might be a little bit more difficult, especially if you're against skill shotters like Syndra or Lux, you're going to get hit by more stuff. But on the whole, I don't think this one's going down in the history books. What's also kind of interesting for Katarina, though, if we flip this around, the new Riftmaker sounds interesting, right? And some elo cat mains are actually running Riftmaker at the moment. But next patch, you're getting to max stacks quicker. Even if its damage amp is 1% lower, this means in terms of burst, which is what you're about, a bit like Diana, this sounds great, right? Unless you're against a bunch of tanks so you can't actually burst down. Now, the Nasus 2 for us is still good, and the new Rocket Belt will still be nuts if Riftmaker doesn't quite work out, so you still have something to fall back on. Now, beating Katarina, guys, to the number 13 spot, so you guys might be unlucky this patch, sorry about that, is Clare, who has escaped the Gore Drinker buffs, right, called them, which were really nerfs, because the increase, guys, in HP is actually more beneficial on Clare compared to other Drinker abusers like Riven and Aatrox. This is because Titanic's Colossus passive gives you more AD based on how much bonus HP you have. Now, the other changes to the Drinker might not sound great, but let me put it this way. Clare has got off lightly this patch, guys. In fact, in the higher echelons of solo queue, Clare and Skull actually have the highest win rate. That's right, the number 1. So if I were you, I would make use of him before Rito pull out the nerf gun. Now, another champion like Nocturne and Nasus and Ergot, guys, who has been on these lists for ages, is Kiana, coming in at number 12, this AD assassin, and she has had a crazy high win rate, especially in higher relos where she's played by Kiana Masters. And there are a couple of reasons here. First of all, the Prowler's Claw and Serpent's Fang combo is ideal, especially next patch because more Enchanter supports will be played once everyone realizes how good Irelia's is. And as a result, shields are going to be more common, so Serpent's Fang comes in really handy, and they typically don't have enough armor to stop you from nuking their backline, so Prowler's Claw and its mythic passive comes in clutch as well. And the second reason, guys, is quite simple. Kiana got huge buffs this season, and these haven't been changed or reverted, and from level 3 onwards, you have some of the highest kill threat out of any champion. Not to mention your ultimate is huge in those mid to late game team fights. Now up next, guys, we have one of the most harrowing junglers and champions in the game. It's not Fiddlesticks, it's Morgana, who is one of the best junglers in the game thanks to the 11-8, 11-9 overall buffs, which increase your W's damage to monsters, which means that you have a quick AF clear, one of the quickest in the game. And if you have a quick clear and you can get to Scuttlecrab as it spawns, guess what? You're a meta jungler. And because of this, guys, Morgana is actually the most banned jungler in the game. Once you get your Leandries and your Zhonyas as well, you're great versus close range champions and assassins who are very popular, and great to pick to protect your carries because of that black shield. Now, as we get into the top 10, guys, we're going to do a bit of a trade here. You're going to like the video, and I'm going to reveal this 10 champions, alright? So make sure you do that. Now, top 10, here we go. Starting us off, we have Malphite, who has also been a mainstay in these top champion countdowns. The Sunfire Aegis damage revo from a few patches ago means you have your dueling power back from the pre-season. Darius is nerfed, so the top lane is less scary, and there's Gore Drinker nerfs as well, and Riftmaker nerfs, which is great when you're against Mordekaiser and Singe, who can do very well against you because, yes, you're all about armor and not really magic resist. But speaking of magic resist, the new Abyssal Mask might actually be kind of useful with your ultimate because, yes, whenever you see an enemy champion, you are going to mark that champion, and your teammates and yourself are going to do more damage to them. Now, speaking of CC, guys, this mid laner has the scariest CC out of any mage mid laner in the game. And this is Annie, who has also been a really good pick this season and has boasted one of the highest win rates throughout. And she's still really good because of the new Rocket Belt, right? So the Magic Pen, which works really well with your high AP ratios and your base damage. You've also got the Rocket Belt dash, so you don't have to flash all the time and ult, but you can actually opt for Ludens instead if you want the Magic Pen, and couple this with a Void Staff, which is actually a really popular build at the moment just because Magic Pen is a really good stat, and Void Staff is like 130% gold efficient, and it's ridiculous. So Annie makes it in for another patch. Now we're going to stay in the mid lane, guys, and this next champion is following Kiana as their next best AD assassin, and this is Zed. And like Kiana, Prowlers and the Fang is too much to handle, it's that simple. What's also interesting is the Serylda's Grudge buff from a few patches ago, so it's now 200 less gold, which is huge, you get to this spike earlier. And Seeker's Arm Guard got cleaned up in 11.6, so it's even scarier playing against a Zed as a mage. So if you make one misstep, yeah, you're probably dead and you're going on your main subreddit to complain about how Zed is so OP. Now this next champion, guys, we could actually stay in the mid lane, but I want to take you to the top lane because this is where Rumble is having the most success. He has insanely high win rates and higher reloads, and one of the main reasons is just because he is the most oppressive early game champion, and it shows that the 11-9 nerf to his passive damage really did nothing because attack speed is key and you're getting 50% of it when you're overheating, which is huge. So if an enemy champion decides to get near you because they think you're on cooldown because you're overheating, you can just hit them to death. In solo queue as well, typically you cannot scale as well in pro games, so most of the time versus Rumble, you are going to be behind behind, and Flame, Spit, see what I did there? With Sorcerer Shoots and Night Harvester, guys, the Yordle in the junk is very scary indeed. Not just for the AP and burst damage, but for the movement speed and haste as well, which is kind of underrated in the NH. Alright, so top lane rumble. Well, how about we stay in the top lane, guys, and I give you a champion who's easy to play and actually really OP. Well, this is Wukong, who again has been one of the best picks so far this season. The new Trinity Force is great. It gives you a more rounded stat line. The attack speed you don't really need because you already have it in your E. You have insane early game tankiness, so when you're trading with anyone in the early game, you legit cannot lose. Because of that attack speed as well in your E, you can conquer stack really easily, even with your Q animation cancel. You have 2 dashes, so your W and E. You have 2 ultimates, and your kit is OP. Like, it doesn't even matter what items you take, to be honest. You could take a Rift Maker and be useful. Well, maybe not that OP, but yes, your laning phase, especially early on, is one of the strongest in the game, guys, on Wukong, and that's when the game really matters at the moment. Now, kicking off the top 5, guys, I'm sorry, we're staying in the top lane. In fact, for the next pick, we are as well. So please don't hate on me. It's just the way it is. Blame right. This tank is already broken, but the new item buff, Abyssal Mask, might help Cho'Gath out, and the passive procs off your Q, which is super easy to hit with the slow from Frostfire Gauntlet and your Vorpal Spikes. As I've already mentioned, with Darius nerfed and Gore Drinker nerfed, your top matchups are easier, so less deaths in the first few levels, and your items this season, a bit like Nasus, are in a great spot and have been buffed. So Gauntlet, Gargoyle Stoneplate, Force of Nature, Frozen Heart. Now, just ahead of Cho'Gath, guys, boasting the number 4 spot on this countdown, is Shen, who currently has a 55% win rate in high elo, and he's kind of spiked this win rate because of a whack new build that's come out. And I actually talked about this in one of our builds videos. So it's Chem Tank as your mythic, Redemption, and Mikhail's. And it sounds whack, right? It looks like a support build. Well, that's what it actually is. The ability haste and the shield strength, this enhances your passive and of course your ultimate shield. And this is also enhanced by shield bash and revitalizing your runes. And in 11.9, guys, your ultimate got buffed, so it scales with your bonus HP, the shield that is. So late game, where you're normally bad and you fall off, you actually stay relevant and save your carries. And you can also take Ultimate Hunter in your runes as well to get more ultimates off. Now, I know 3 champions who will be stronger than Shen next patch, guys. And as we get into the 11.10, if you want to perfect, if you want to master any of the champions we've been through, then there's one destination. GameLeap.com. From a coach who has helped countless students climb to division and tier climbs, if I do say so myself, and get to rank 1 in US, by the way, I know what works. Our guides, our courses, our analyses are all you need to peak on the Rift, so it's time to engage. Links down below. So starting off the top 3, guys, we have a champion who honestly is way too underrated. Like, you guys have to start playing him, and this is Fiddlesticks, who, like most champions on this list, has a high as win rate. The new Rocket Belt change, which gives you Magic Pen, works wonders with Sorcerer Shoes. Like, this combination is one of the deadliest on the Rift. You also have Great Clare, which means you're meta, a bit like Morgana. You have one of the most impactful and game-changing bombshell ultimates in the game. So it's quite simple, guys. It is time to send in the crows, brah. Now, ahead of Fiddlesticks, guys, at number 2, we have a champion who was number 1 last week, and I think number 1 the week before that as well. But I have to put her at number 2 this week, and you'll understand when I reveal the number 1 in just a few seconds' time. So number 2 is Camille, who is the best abuser of the new Trinity Force. So you're getting more AD, the Spellblade damage or your Precision Protocol, so your Q, the haste and movement speed from the passive instead of attack speed. It's all too good. The Threefold Strike passive also procs on tower now, so more plates, more gold, more W's. No one in solo queue is peeling you, okay, off their carries. You just press R and Q and it's over. But if Camille is at number 2 and she's that busted, well, who on earth can be at number 1? Well, for the first time this season, guys, we have a support boasting the number 1 spot. How happy are you guys? And honestly, there's a reason for this. She is beyond busted because of the new Irelias, and this is Lulu. So whenever you W an ally champion, whenever you E them, whenever you ult them, that's 3 of your abilities, you are giving them that movement speed from Irelias. And if you also think about the 11.9 bust that Riot gave your W, this works wonders with the best AD carries, right? Like Jinx, Twitch, and Kog'Maw. And these last 2, Twitch and Kog'Maw, have really become meta because of the new Irelias and the power of Lulu at the moment. Like, you guys probably weren't even surprised by this because you're seeing so much Lulu picked at the moment, and that's because she's free low, guys. So get around it before it's too late. So those were the 20 best champions of 11.10, guys. If you agreed, disagreed, if you have any thoughts, if you have any rage, let me know in the comments, throw it all in there. And once again, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss tomorrow's video. This has been the Jizz, and until then, bye!